Hi everyone, friends. UPSC Men's exams, IAS Men's exams. This men's exam is just about to knock the door, and the result of PT is just about to come. Then, what comes in the mind is how best IAS men's papers can be written, how best should be the strategy on the basis of which the maximum optimization of the score can be procured, and that can turn out to be a decisive edge over the competitors. Then what should be done? That's natural question which are coming in the mind of every competent, every aspirant likely to become a bureaucrat. Am I right, friends? So this is how sensing that this video exactly addresses those all queries, and that will make you a perfect symbol of making the best answer in IS Mains, be it GS, be it optional, or be that essay writing. And obviously, that is the ultimate source for deciding the cutoff marks for the personality test or interview. So, let's have the topic, and the title of today's discussion is Best Strategy for IAS Men's Exam Answer Writing 2021-22. So, following strategies I am going to discuss, which could be very much conducive for fetching maximum marks in IAS Men's exams. It's not that any one of you does not really write well. Everybody tries to write well, but that's not the symbol of necessarily fetching maximum marks. Then what's the solution? Solution is very simple. Today we are going to discuss the strategy, and strategy number 1 for the short question, and that for this we are likely to discuss, and is for short and starting questions of section A. What needs to be done? All you have to do is you have to be very logical and coherent in your ideas and thought process. And in that sense, we'll see the first thing comes, that's about 10 marks question. How the section A or 10 marks question, any question which is of 10 marks, should be addressed, and how best should be written so that that can really strike the minds of examiner, so much so that your questions could really hit the mindset of the examiners, and which can optimize the maximum scores which you intend to procure. Friends, short questions are of 150 words, means words are limited, and so should be the quantity of the words, and should be qualitative. Obviously, it requires a direct approach. So, what should be the approach of writing this question? This kind of question requires a direct approach to address the same, means the question, and that should be based on facts and not the assumptions. Here, this particular 150 words question, basically what examiner is looking into is not beating about the bush, but then is going to look into your qualitative based on facts and figures. And then what should be the next strategy to address this 10 marks question? And the next strategy for this is short questions need not require an introduction to begin the answer. Let me tell you, because it will really lengthen your answer, and that is not the logic behind giving you short question. That should be facts based. So no introduction required. And the next strategy should be what? And next should be write the answer directly. Hit the bullseye directly. also does not involve any diagram, because diagram requires a bit lengthy space. Here you have to have the direct approach, avoiding any kind of making presentations or diagram or pie chart. Why? Reason is very simple. You have to hit directly and should be the approach for straightforward. Dear friends, that was basically for the starting point of the question of section A of 10 marks. But then what should be the strategy for 50 marks question? Will that be the same or quite different from the previous one, or different at least? Yes, the answer is yes. For 50 marks question to address the better fact, and the target should be it can be handled with a brief introduction. Yes, here you are eligible to start your answer with the introduction, but that should be with a punchline. Then you will ask, what's a punchline? Punchline refers to starting a line which is very much essential and fascinating, that speaks volumes exactly what you want to and what you intend to write and convey the message to the examiner. That is so forceful that binds the examiner. Wow, how forceful the line is. Even the examiner does not go into detail but can find every bit and piece of the entire question and then find what exactly examiner is looking into. And then what should be the next strategy of 50 marks question? Friends, your next strategy should be you can add definitions related to the questions that demand to do so. Here, if the terminology requires, go for the definitions. And the next, what should be the scope? Yes, you can add scope in the part of writing of the question. Scope will help to understand the examiner कि at least examiner knows a lot of things about this and is free, with a free will can add a scope. Then what should be the next strategy to handle this 15 marks question? And that should be a couple of diagram may be appreciated for additions after the paragraphs. Dear friends, here you can add a couple of diagrams. And how will that solve the purpose? Yes, it will kill multi birds with one stone, the psychology of the examiner, what exactly the examiner is looking for. Having said so, then finally you can go for the conclusion of the entire gist of 50 marks question, and then so that should be reflective part of your answer sheet. What then you can ask the question, what 20 marks question? If that is the case of 10 marks and 50 marks question, what should the approach for 20 marks question? Dear friends, to address 20 marks question, it's very very essential that start again your answer with a very very powerful punchline. Why, you will answer why punchline should be added? For the very simple reason, you are fighting against thousands and lakhs of candidates who you have to defeat in the battlefield. And unless your arms and weapons are different from others, how can you handle those situations? To fill the gap, the punchline is needed, and the first impression is the last impression, and this is how it serves the purpose. But remember, that should be relevant and fascinating for the examiners, should not look like that simply the examiner is beating about the bush, and that should be avoided. Dear friends, then what should be the next line of action which can be added for 20 marks question? Yes, you can also add any quotation to start the same. If you find the question is very much well connected with your thought and strategies, which you are able to extract any specific quotation and could put there, that will definitely reflect and sound something different from your the sworn enemy in this competitive exams. Yes, that's very much true, dear friends. Then what should be the next one? Yes, and the next strategy is give introduction to introduce the topic in the right perspectives. So what we did? We started our answer of Dima's question with first punchline, and then immediately that followed your introductory part of the question. Why introduction is important and significant to start a question of long mass is very essential to define is introduction reflects lots of ideas about what you're going to write on the answer sheet, and that speaks volumes as to how you are going to address the queries and questions and that contextual framework of what the examiner wants to examine inside you and your thought processes. Dear students, and the next strategy you can adopt is give a good scope, but as and when this is needed as per the nature of the questions, not necessarily if the question is not demanding, but the suggestion a piece of it is 20 marks question require a kind of scope to be added. Dear friends, then what about the explanation? Yes, because this is of 20 marks question, it is demanding very much that there should be a lucid explanation of your thought process of your answer to justify what you're going to write. And what should be the next strategy to handle this? Next strategy and to make the answer sheet different from others should be that you should also add advantages and disadvantages as per the format of the question wherever is needed. But if you feel the question is not demanding of this sort, can be avoided. But my personal piece of advice is if this is of 20 marks question, this should be added. And dear friends, you can ask now, and what about the diagrams of this long question? Yes, very much well suggestive. Diagrams are here very much helpful, and you can add as many diagrams as the space, paragraphs, and situations warrant so, depending upon the nature of the questions as that make you different from the other competitors. And what then after writing advantages, disadvantages, and diagrams? Is the critical analysis well founded? Should that be added? Of course, critical analysis is a very significant component of writing a strategic answer, and that to what can be better idea for this bureaucratic exam than this what you're going to have your position and seat in any hostel of Labasna. So critical analysis demands should be added if it requires. And then any answer cannot be assumed to be complete if that's of a long nature question, and that should be analysis, and that's a must. And then finally, having written your analysis, what the examiner expects from you, obviously that's the conclusion, or what you will write in conclusion. What should be written there? A good conclusion should be reflective of the main components of the entire question in a very nutshell with few lines. That should be decisive and speak the gist of your 20 marks question, which should be appreciable from examiner's point of view. Dear students, this is how the strategy for writing answer questions, rather key questions, rather key answers addressing so that you can have a competitive edge over others. Otherwise, there is no dearth of writing answers. Everybody will write, but everybody will not be selected, will not be recommended for personality test. If anybody wants to find the place in that, has to have different, has to stand out of the crowd. So, friends, this is what I wanted to convey. This is what this particular video is, and then do like it, do share it, and so that others can find much more convenient, and your friends can also take advantage of it and can do well accordingly. Thanks for watching the video.